Hey Stitch family, it's Andrew here. For this week's update, I'm going to be talking about something that is probably more important than anything we're going to be focusing on this year as a community. And that's growing local activity and local communities in new areas. You might live in a town where there's a bunch of people who've joined Stitch, but there's no community activity happening yet. You might be in a big city where there is a lot of activity happening right across the city, but not much in your local neighborhood. Or you might be in a place where there is thousands and thousands of members, but you're just dipping your toe into getting involved in the local area. That's all that we're going to be focusing on. Well, we're focusing on lots of things this year, but it's really probably the number one most important thing that we've got on our plate, and we're calling it the Stitch Pioneer Program. So let me give you just a bit of background about what it is and why it's so important. So one of the great things about Stitch is our combination of in-person local events and activities where people get together in person and form new friendships, and the global aspect of Stitch where people can use our virtual events and activities or our discussions to connect with people on other sides of the city, other sides of the country, other sides of the world. And it allows you, the global aspect obviously allows you to pull from a much larger pool of people to find someone with specific common interests. So it's a combination of two, which is fantastic. But what we've found is in an area where there is a lot of local activity, we get to about 84% of people tend to favor the local in-person activities versus the global stuff. Not to say that the global and the virtual activity is not important. In fact, for many people, it's their first entry into the community. It makes them feel comfortable and join as a member. But 84% of members tell us that they really want to meet people in person. And those members are 3 times more likely to join and participate and improve their lives and improve the vibrancy of the entire community if there is local activity happening in their area. So that's why local activity is so important. Now, if you live in an area that is not yet active, you might not be familiar with how amazing and just varied and exciting and enriching it can be. So I'm lucky. I live in Sydney, and Sydney is one of the communities that we got started right at the beginning, and we've used that model to grow other communities. And so now the biggest problem in Sydney is there's too much on at any one time. You can't go to everything, but the variety is amazing. And you look at this, there's tennis, physical activity like that. There's a lot of fine dining or dining out. We've got games. There's the Mahjong one, but you see all sorts of other games, movies, rock and roll dancing, just catching up for coffee in someone's local area. We've got cultural things. This is a tour of a cathedral. We've got walking events, theatre, another theatre one, and even music. So look, so many things that people do suggest and enrich their lives, and many members tell us that they discover a lot about their own city from things that other members suggest. But how does that start? Now, typically, when someone joins Stitch, say you're in a community and there's no one, you're the very first person to join. You'll open the Stitch website, you'll look around, you'll see there's not much happening yet. There's nothing, in fact. You're the first person. So are you likely to suggest or organize an activity? Probably not. There's no one near you. So, but you sit there and you'll sit there and wait. Typically those people will join and they just wait to see if anything happens. Someone else, the next person might join. It might be a few weeks later. But again, they don't see that there's anything happening and they figure that there's no Stitch community near them. The third person might do the same thing a month later. And over time, people join Stitch. They don't all join at once. So they join bit by bit by bit. And what happens is you can get a whole lot of members who are sitting there waiting. They're interested, obviously, because they've joined and got their account verified, but they're waiting to see a community growing and going. But at some point, some enterprising individual comes along and says, you know what, I'm a bit of a go-getter. I can see there are people here. There's nothing happening. I am going to suggest the first activity. Okay? And this is typically how all of our communities are started. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's really key because what happens the very first time, typically, even though they're really excited about getting a lot of people along to their activity, they get crickets. Because put yourself in the shoes of some of those blue people on the screen. You joined Stitch, or in some cases you might have joined over a year ago, and you assume there's nothing for you. You might not check your emails. You might see the email go past and not even look at it. Or you might see it and the event's just not on a time or a location that's convenient to you. Or you might see it and think, I'd like to go, but I don't know this person. I don't know is the community running yet. So very often, the first time an event gets published, the people sitting there just don't respond very much at all. If they're really enthusiastic, they might post another one. A lot of people get very discouraged that no one's showing up because they think it's something wrong with them. It's not. It's just that social inertia, and we see this again and again and again. We've observed this. We understand the pattern. They might suggest a second one, and if no one shows up to that, very often they'll decide, well, this is no good, I'm going to give up. They don't realize that if only they were to post a third one. Very often it's the third event where finally someone sees it. They've been seeing those events come by and they've gone, well, I don't really know this person yet, but I don't want to miss out. I like it. You know what? I'll give it a go. It's that third event, someone comes along. And at that point, you've actually got the start of a community. You've got two people. I know it doesn't sound a lot, but it's doubled. And then after a couple more, you find that a few more people come along because people are social creatures. Once they see this social proof that other people are going to events, then they realize, hey, there is something for me to come along to. But it takes time. There's a lot of social inertia to creating a community. And if they persist at it, over time, you'll get a lot of people coming out of the woods, and that's how we get these vibrant communities. But it takes persistence and takes a lot of courage, and you need to be enthusiastic because it's very easy to get discouraged. So looking back at all the communities that have been successful versus the ones that haven't, the real key has been this person. And we're calling them, the technical term is community pioneer, because they are a pioneer. They're the ones who are willing to give it a shot, try something out, get it going, and if they stick at it, they're the ones who start that community. Very often our communities that have got going have done so on the back of one person or two people, and they are fantastic pioneers, and then they set an example for other people to come along and then create events and activities themselves. So we are building and are in the process of rolling out the Stitch Pioneer program. And that's because we've discovered the key to creating a successful local community is providing those community pioneers the support, the encouragement, and guidance that they need. And more importantly than just the guidance, they need to know they are not alone, but they are actually part of something. They are part of a community of people just like them who want to make a positive impact by enriching the lives of their fellow members and their own lives in the process. And this is the key. We've often found, like Stitch can provide a lot of information about how to do this or post an event, but actually it's that sense that you're part of something now. You're part of a team, you're part of a community that's making things happen, making fantastic social events, but also the broader impact of making a positive impact on your own community. If you care about those things, you really need to feel you're part of something, and that is the key. So the community building journey for many members goes like this. So you start as a pioneer, and as a pioneer, you're just starting out and maybe doing your very first local event. Okay, and that's the point where, you know, if you're the very first person to post an event in your area, you are a potential pioneer for your community. You want to see it happen. You're giving it a go. Good on you. You deserve a round of applause. If you stick at it and you do 3 events, you become a champion. And ideally at that point, you have a small, it might be a micro community network. You might have a couple of people who have responded and that's it, but that's okay. Depending on where you are, that's what we can build on. When we started the Sydney community, we had 4 members come along to a coffee meetup. That was all it was. 3 of those 4 are still members of the community, but we kept at it until it grew. So don't be discouraged that it's a micro community, but once you've done 3, you get the community champion badge on your profile, not on your shirt, but on your profile, and you are a champion. And if you keep at it, you become what I like to call a super champion. So these are the people who've got gold or platinum or diamond on their profile, the badge, and that just means they've been doing lots of regular events. They've made a lot of positive contributions to the community by doing so. They've got a strong network as a result. You know, they've got a lot of people who've joined, and ideally that local community is growing or is actually very, very large already. So that's the journey, and we'd love to see as many people who are interested in being a pioneer, you know, get a lot out of being a member and become one of those super champions. It's more about just being part of something. You know, if you're a pioneer and you'd like to be part of a big community, this is how we get you there, and we'd love to see that happen so that you can enjoy Stitch as much as some of those members in Sydney or other communities are enjoying it. So the goals of the program are threefold, and they are to support community pioneers, to develop community champions, and to nurture new Stitch communities. It's that simple. If you're a pioneer, we're going to give you the support, encouragement you need. You're going to help community champions grow. And as a result, all these local communities can grow. So let me talk about the participants of the program. And there's two types of participant. One are the pioneers. And if you're a pioneer, you're probably just getting started, and you're very often in a not yet active area. Although, as I mentioned, you could be part of a big city, but maybe your local neighborhood's not active yet. Or maybe it is, and you just want to build a community devoted to a particular interest, and you're not really sure how to do it. That's totally fine. But the main thing is you need to be keen to contribute to your local community, willing to suggest or organize events or activities. To be a mentor, we've got a few requirements. And I'll talk about what being a mentor involves. But to qualify for being a mentor, you need to be a community champion, first of all. So you need to run 3 events. They don't need to be in-person events. They could be virtual, but you need to have the community champion badge and have been a member for Stitch for over 6 months. That gives you enough time to absorb the values that we're trying to espouse with Stitch, things like being kind and welcoming and supportive and enriching other people's lives. And get your head around how the community works, what its goals are, and so on. We're looking for people who've got a high member rating, and all that it tells us is that you generally behave consistently with those values that we espouse at Stitch. And so you don't have to worry about this. We'll look at that. But you know, if someone was applying to the program and they didn't have a high member rating, we might not view them as being appropriate as a mentor. We'll run you through a mentor training program. Very simple, very lightweight, but will help you feel you've got the confidence to be a mentor, because not everyone feels they've got all the answers, and you don't have to have the answers. You just need to have the support as a mentor to provide the guidance to pioneers that they might need. You do need to be able to host virtual activities, because you will be hosting 4 virtual activities for the pioneers in your group. And you commit to running 1 pioneer support group. And those groups I'm going to show you in a minute. They run for about 4 months, and there's not a lot involved, but you just need to be willing to do so. So on the slides I'm about to show you, I've got pioneers marked in blue and pioneer mentors in red, so you can tell the difference. But essentially a pioneer mentor is just a community champion. All right, so we're building this concept of pioneer support groups because we realize that, as I said, it's not about giving people just information. It's about making you feel like you're part of something and connecting you to other people who feel the same. So each pioneer support group will be run by 1 mentor. And on Stitch, they'll be set up as a private group. So the mentor will be able to put 1, 2, and then up to 8 people into the pioneer support group. Stitch will actually assign them, and I'll talk about how that works. And we've chosen 8 because that means in total there's 9 people, and you'll be running a virtual event once a month to connect those members. And on a virtual event, you will have 9 of you on a 3x3 grid. So it's a good way of being able to see everyone all at the same time. So the support group will be a private group on Stitch, and you'll host 1 virtual meeting, get together for those mentors, for the pioneers and yourself per month. That's all it is. You just come along, say hi, talk about what's happening, talk about a few of the things that we'll tell you about, and it's really an opportunity to get together. Obviously, you can also answer questions via group chat and things like that on Stitch. And the group will run for 4 months. It can go longer than that. Like, you may choose to continue as part of the group, but at the end of 4 months, we expect a couple of things to happen. First of all, the pioneers themselves will be community champions by that point, because typically they'll have run 3 events. They might not have an active community in the area just yet, but it might be just starting out, but they'll have run their 3 events, and they'll be community champions themselves. And they'll start to be sharing information. It won't just be you, but it'll be the pioneers sharing ideas, what worked for them. Hey, look what we've done, and so on. So at the end of the 4 months, the mentor steps down as the group lead. And we mandate this because we don't want pioneer mentors to feel like they're signing up for an infinite responsibility till the end of time to lead a group. So you step down as a leader, you can stay in the group because, you know, these pioneers are pretty amazing people. You might find that you've developed great friendships with them over a 4-month period and you'd like to stay part of the chat. Absolutely fine. You know, it's all about connecting you to other people, and so you can be part of that group. But at this stage, you're all champions, and you can continue just having your private group chats and whatever. It's up to you. But we ask you to step down as leader of the group. The pioneers can lead the group themselves at that point. And then you, as a mentor, whether you choose to stay in the group or not, you're free to then go on to set up and run other pioneer support groups for new pioneers if you've enjoyed it. So in addition to all these little pioneer groups that we'll be running, we will have one, what we're calling the mentor support group, and that's run by myself and Aaron from the support team, or some of the other Stitch members, and that will include all the mentors. So in a similar model, the same way that the mentors are providing help for the pioneers, we, as far as we can, will be helping the mentors themselves. So that'll include, it'll be another private group where we can answer questions, but in addition to that, at least one virtual meeting per month. And we'll record that for anyone who can't attend. Again, sharing tips, advice, guidance, encouragement for the mentors, as well as just the guidance, also helping you understand the impact you're having. Because the idea here is, if we have 10 mentors join the program, that's 80 pioneers, that's 80 new communities that you could be helping contribute to grow around the Stitch community. You can see why this could have a massive impact. You've already had an impact in your local area, but now you're able to amplify your own impact to grow, amazing outcomes all over the world. I think it's fantastic. So here's the process for pioneers. You first register your interest at www.stitch.net/pioneer. And we just ask you a couple of simple questions about where you are, who you are, what you'd like to do. And then we'll approve you. Typically, you'll be approved unless you're joining Stitch for the wrong reasons, your commercial reasons or something like that. But once you're approved, Stitch will give you a list of all of the pioneer groups that are scheduled to start sometime in the next couple of months. Each mentor will choose a different time frame for their pioneer groups based on their own availability, and you'll need to pick one that suits you. So you might, mentors will come from all over the world. You're all over the world, but the time zone will just need to line up. So, if I was running one, I'm based in Sydney, and it was daytime my time, it would mean typically anyone who is free daytime in Sydney could come, or maybe evening, afternoon in the US, just because of the way the time zone works. If I was hosting one in the evening my time, then it would be suitable for people in the UK or Europe. You'll just have a list, you'll be able to pick one, and we'll assign you to that group. At that point, all you need to do is show up to those 4 events. But in addition, I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions as a pioneer. You'll show up. After that, the first get together, you'll realize you're part of a group with people from, you might be in Seattle and there's someone in London and someone in New York, and they're all in the group talking about, hey, what do we do? It's going to be fascinating to hear what you learn, how you enjoy it, how you connect with those people. But you just need to go along, have fun, and then get involved in your own local area. So based on the guidance that the mentor provides to you, from Stitch through the mentor to you, just get involved. And it's really about just empowering you. If you find it's no good, it doesn't help you out, then there's no commitment. There's nothing demanded of you. We're just trying to give you the help that you might want or need. So if you feel like that's great, that's what the pioneer process looks like for you. By the same token, the process for mentors goes very similarly. You register your interest, www.stitch.net/pioneer, and you just say you want to be a mentor. And Stitch will then run you through a mentor training program, which I'll talk about in a minute. Very lightweight, but it's just there to make sure that you have the confidence that you know everything you might need to be a mentor. A lot of our members have said, well, I'm not really sure whether I'm good enough. Trust me, if you know how to run 1 or 2 events and you're super enthusiastic, you can be a mentor. We will have a quiz for you just to make sure you actually have listened and read or watched the videos and so on, and as well as one little thing right at the end just to make sure that, yes, you feel confident, we feel confident that you're going to be a great mentor. And then you just have to choose the time that you're willing to run your group. So it's up to you, but it's really based on your personal schedule. You might choose the second Sunday of the month at 6 p.m. or the third Wednesday at 4 in the afternoon. Whatever. You just tell it what time it's going to be. We'll add that to our schedule so that then we can assign the pioneers who choose that time. If you'd like to choose more than one time slot because you'd like to run more than one mentoring group, that's totally fine too. And then you just run 4 events over that 4-month period. So it's really just one event per month, not very much, for 4 months, as well as answering questions and feeling connected to the pioneers. And at the end, as I said, you step down as the group leader. That's it. So pretty straightforward. The real key is making sure you feel that you have the support and the knowledge and the guidance that you might need to feel confident to be a mentor. So that's where the mentor training program comes in. But the training program covers, if you need it, how to host a virtual activity, because some of our champions have only ever done local activities, so we want to make sure they can run a virtual activity. So we'll show you how to do that. We'll give you guidelines for running those 4 mentor group meetings and the discussions for what, some of the material that you might want to share and cover. But again, it's not super heavy duty. It's just making sure this is all you need to cover. It's pretty easy. It's a very social activity, running a group. You're just hosting an event, you're having a chat, and let's talk about these things on those events. We will give you advice and guidance for helping the pioneers themselves as they grow and activate the community in their area. Because there's a bunch of things that we do recommend, and there's a sequence to doing things that we do recommend as well, that we would like you to share with them. You might not have done it in your own area. You might have only ever run virtual events, and that's cool. As long as you can share the information that we give so that they feel like they can go out there and set up things in their local community. The program will also cover the goals of the program, just so that everyone's on the same page about what we're kind of aiming for. And really, it's about having fun, connecting with other people, obviously, but also amplifying the impact that you have by helping nurture these new communities in new areas. As I mentioned, there'll be a short quiz, demonstrate you've understood everything, and we'll run one dry run virtual activity with you, just so that you can go, oh yeah, I've done that once. I know that it's fine. We can give you feedback on how it works and just answer any questions. It's just so at the end of the training program, you can feel prepared that you've got the confidence to be a mentor, because that's what we're really trying to address there. A lot of people who are so wonderful in the community, but they don't have the confidence that they really should, because they're amazing. And just so that you can feel comfortable that being a mentor is it's not a huge task, but you've just got enough there that you can do it. Okay, a few common questions that we've had so far. Do I need to have hosted in-person events to be a mentor? No, you only need to be willing to host the virtual events. So if you've done only virtual events up till now, that's cool. You might not have done in-person events. As long as you're willing to provide the guidance that we give you to the pioneers, and you can host those virtual events, that's all you need. Of course, if you have run virtual in-person events of your own, that's even better, fantastic, but you don't need to have. I mentioned before, you can actually run more than one pioneer group, but we would suggest start with one so you can get familiar with the program first, see what it's all about. And if you're enjoying it, after one event, you might say, well, I'm going to start another one. I might start another one. Some members I know run dozens of virtual events per week. I'm sure some of them will be keen to run many of these, but let's walk before we run, see how it goes. This is a good question. I've been a member for several years. Can I apply to be a pioneer? And the answer is yes. We don't want to imply that pioneers are only for people who've just joined Stitch. It's for people who are ready to try to start the community in their area. In fact, many members aren't ready to be a pioneer when they first join, and they only get inspired to do so after they make friends with members in other locations through the virtual events and activities or discussions who tell them what it's like being part of a community where there's lots of things happening. So if you've been a member for several years and you've never hosted an event or you haven't even really thought about it, but you'd like to give it a try, you can be a pioneer. Absolutely fine. Do I need any special skills or experience? And really, to be a pioneer, you just need to attend the virtual events that the mentor hosts. That's all. Come along, listen in, have a chat. That's all you need to do. For the mentor, obviously you need to host that event, but again, you don't need a lot. Beyond that, we are looking for people who've got good communication skills, because this is a communication exercise. But the big thing is you need a big dose of enthusiasm. If you've got that and you know how your way around a virtual event, then you could be an amazing mentor. All right, and that's it. So as I mentioned, this is probably the biggest thing we're going to be working on this year, and mainly because we see it as a fantastic opportunity to really activate a large number of new communities much more quickly than we've been doing. Like Stitch has been growing and snowballing bit by bit by bit, but it takes a lot if you're the first one in an area and it doesn't always work the first time. So if we can help activate and provide the support to the pioneers, then that's going to accelerate that process, and then everybody wins, because the community itself is richer the more people who are getting engaged and enjoying connecting with other members. So I'm so super excited to find out how it goes. If you're interested in being a pioneer, then please check out the website, and I'll leave a link below the video as well. Just bear in mind, we need to train up a few mentors first. So we're only in the process of rolling this out, and it might be some time before they complete the program, and then we have a list of the start dates for all of the pioneer support groups. So just hold your horses. Don't be surprised if it takes us a few months before some of those dates start to get announced. But in the meantime, we will be taking your registration and expressions of interest so that we can make sure we've got those people ready when the time comes. If you're interested in being a mentor, then please, or even if you half think about being a mentor, please consider it. It's not a huge burden. You can have a massive impact on many members, because if you think you're not just helping the pioneers, you're helping the potentially hundreds and hundreds of members in that pioneers area actually get a community that they'd like to be part of. So you can have, I'm sure you've already made a fantastic impact on your local community, but you can amplify that impact even more. I think it sounds fantastic, and it's a really great way, I think, of connecting all of our organizers who do such a great job, and really in many cases selflessly create community activities for other members. And obviously they enjoy it themselves, but connecting them with similar like-minded individuals, I think, is a great way of rewarding them and enriching their experience. So look, no matter what you think, whether you would like to be a pioneer, a mentor, or not interested at all, please let us know if you've got any feedback. We're sure the program will change and evolve as the year goes along. Everything we do at Stitch is about learning and discovering, because we're doing something no one's ever done before. So it has to change. We don't have all the answers, but with your help, we will get there. That's how we do most things on Stitch, is we learn from our members and we get your suggestions and roll it in, and eventually, we end up with this amazing outcome. So thanks for listening. Very keen to hear feedback, and I look forward to sharing with you how the program's going in one of my future updates. Bye for now.